And Eric Sheetsaber, we're going to be talking through this small little baseball slate. I'll be completely honest. I looked at it this morning. I did a show about it this morning. I have not looked since. I have not entered a tournament. It's been a very busy day to say the least. What are you going to expect with the first day of football and all kinds of site stuff that we've been working on? So, anyway, Sheets, how are you doing? How was the birthday yesterday?
Everything was good. We went to the city. We did some cool spa stuff. We went to a nice dinner. Went to some breakfast today, and back in time for all kinds of baseball and football, and I got to do MMA, just all kinds of stuff to catch up with. So, Survivor stuff. I'm going to do my video on the Circa Millions. It's just really just kind of an insane stretch here. So
it really is.
We're going to start with the baseball, I guess. So you didn't look. I actually just ran something, and I actually ran my lineup. So at least I can talk sort of about what I did. And again, one announcement. For those of you that didn't see, SaberSim made a really just enormous update to its systems. I don't know why they did it just before football season. If you want to know the truth. Listen. I know why they wanted to do it before football season. That makes sense, right? But I would rather have had a little time to play with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that I can intelligently pass the information on to our users the best way to make use of the new SaberSim layout and their different things. I went through some of the video, and to be perfectly honest, I went away for a day and a half, and I have to go through it. The great thing is that, at least for now, there's a little button on here that says "Go to old SaberSim" if you want. So I am going to be using old SaberSim until I figure out new one. But apparently, they've made some very, very good changes with respect to how you fill lineups with the Sims. They've made some very annoying changes to the layout. Annoying to me because listen. Their hearts are always in the right place. They said we made some changes to the way where things are. We try to make them more intuitive to where you'd expect them to be. But okay, great. But I already now know where they are. You know what I mean? So, just when I'm really in my groove and could just blast through like 5,000 lineups in like 10 minutes, now I have to learn where everything is all over again. So the devil you do versus the devil you don't, whatever. It's part of change. It's part of everything. All right. So on DraftKings in pitching, if you're just going to go, and this is the way I like to deal with this. If you're going to ask who the best plays are, all right, I would say you play Ronaldo Lopez and Cody Bradford as the top two pitchers. They're the ones that project the best. They're the ones that project best for their value, and combined have about 100% ownership. So again, in this baseball, almost I would say as much, if not more than any other sport, it's less about who the best plays are and more about who you play. But if you want to start with who the best plays are, I would say pitching wise, it's those two. Do you agree? Disagree? What do you think?
I think those are the obvious ones. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's start with that. Right.
Yeah. So I think those are the two obvious ones. I think you can make a case for Ranger Suarez, but I don't love that. I think that Lopez, I actually think he's going to be like 80+% owned, maybe a little bit higher, just because you don't see projections this far apart that often, and it's not very hard to afford him. So I have a feeling that that's going to turn into 80%. And I have a couple of weird ones that I think are completely viable and completely getting overlooked.
So who do you like? Who do you like?
Like is a strong word, but
you know what I mean. Like who would you hold your nose and pivot to? How about that?
Adam Uller, just straight leverage against Philadelphia stack.
We'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Bailey Falter.
Oler and Falter. Okay.
Oler and Falter. Kukanovich. I can never pronounce his last name.
Kukanovich. Okay. Fair enough.
And if you're even feeling a little friskier, I wouldn't mind getting to a tiny bit of Austin Gomber because it's a small slate. Again, like I think does make sense to spread out a little bit. I do think you can play any of those guys with Lopez if you want, if it makes you feel better or whatever. But I don't think there's a rule that says I have to play just the chalk on this kind of slate. Why wouldn't I get different and take Adam Oller, for example, who his last 2 starts, has been terrific, and Philadelphia since the All-Star break has been one of the higher strikeout teams against right-handed pitching in baseball. I think that at 1% ownership, I could certainly talk myself into that.
I would be remiss if I did not point out the once and future Cy Young contender Martin Perez.
I agree. The interesting thing with him though is that he's actually going to be highly owned today. So it's kind of a strange, if we're going to play that guy, if we're going to play Perez at 22% ownership, who we always stack against, why wouldn't we consider some of these other pivots in just similar enough situations? So that's one way to get different today, I think, is to mix in some Falter, some Oller, some Kakanevich. Those would be my pitching ways to get different today, and
okay.
I think that's reasonable.
So now going back to the hitting now, you alluded to this before. So if you want to know who the best, plays are, it's going to be, if there's no ownership, there's no nothing, it's going to be Philadelphia and Atlanta. Okay, right. Those are the ones that project the best. Those are the ones that rate to score the most. And they are the ones that are going to be the highest owned. Okay. So I guess I'll put it this way. Which one of those are you most afraid to fade, if any? And if you're not afraid of fading both of them or one of them, where are you coming up with as far as pivots?
Hitting wise, I think this is a pretty straightforward pivot that I actually think should be the just as owned as Philly and Atlanta, and that would be, they're not going to be, but San Diego. That's the one that I like the most. I think, look, we want to pick on Detroit when you get a chance to. I don't feel afraid of Mize, and San Diego, is one of the better hitting teams in baseball. It doesn't really get the credit for it. Not to mention, we are having an insanely hottest weather ever for a time of year in California. So in San Diego, you're used to seeing the games at 70 degrees. This game is at 85 degrees in San Diego. So it's a much better hitting environment. All the best hitting environments are going to be here for the next few days because that's just what the weather has just been out of control hot. Which is why I always wear tank tops and stuff, but I'm wearing shorts and literally just still sweating like crazy up here. So I like San Diego. I think that I think it's a small enough slate where you can get way different, but I think you don't necessarily need to, and you could play either side of the Pittsburgh-Washington game would be my other 2 favorite get different spots. I like Philly's upside more than I like Atlanta's, but obviously Atlanta has upside too. So I think Philly and Texas would be the chalk that I would be more likely to eat, but if I want to get different on these kind of slates, so I would play Pittsburgh, Washington, or San Diego as my main teams.
I am really excited for the last month of the season of baseball for a couple of reasons. Number one is that I'm really kind of in tune with using the Sims and using them correctly. Right? Number 2, everybody's going to be all into freaking football. Okay.
Right.
And as a result, part of that is going to be, I think that it's already started in some of the other sports. I think the prize pool is going to start to come down in baseball.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. You can complain about it. You can do whatever. Fact is that with football season, every other sport suffers. That's just the way it is, and NASCAR is feeling it this week. Other sports are going to start feeling it, and baseball. And the more the baseball prize pools come down, even more or less people, or experts are going to want to play it. Okay. So number 1, it's going to get softer. Number 2, as I mentioned earlier, last week or whatever, or a couple of days ago, I discovered that the players are not as good as I thought they were for reasons that I described a couple of days ago. I don't even want to get into it again, but I'm a little less intimidated by some of the players that I used to be intimidated by. Let's put it that way.
As I think you shouldn't be. Yeah, I think this is good. I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad to hear that.
So, and the other thing. So with that said, I'm really embracing using the Sims to make decisions for me in slates like this, where everything looks so obvious. Okay. So that's what I would recommend that people who are playing multiple lineups do is help with the sims and use something that will unemotionally pivot you off of this chalk in baseball. And use, I would start by using the Saber Sim contest sims as far as what field to compare yourself to, and whatever projections you put in is going to give you different results. So you can use the Saber Sims ones, you could use mine. And so what I did for this particular slate is I used my own, and I put them in, and I just kind of ran. I made one change for the highest buy-in. I used a high stakes MME instead of 20 max MME, and I didn't touch anything with the stacks. It turns out I ended up getting the majority five-man stacks, like 5-2, 5-3s, but I had a good amount of 4-3s, had a couple of bow wow stacks or whatever. And I don't know I'm going to tell you who I came up with, who I have, but who I have is not as important as the process. So I will tell you this: my second most exposed team hitting wise is in fact the Phillies. Okay. Yeah. My third most exposed team is in fact the Atlanta Braves. Okay. However, my first most exposed team at 70% is the once and future Kings Los Angeles Angels.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting. And that's just the way it's going to be. That's the best. That's the best way I could describe this. As far as pitching goes, I imagine I'm going to be on the chalk. But that's where I've been getting recently in my work is a lot of chalk pitching. Yeah, I am getting like 80% Lopez, and then Bradford, Suarez, Perez, but I'm getting some of the Kokonovich. I don't have any of the Gomber, but I get a little Aller, a little Falter, and a little Irvin or whatever. Actually, more than a little Irvin, actually. Like 20% of the Irvin. But I'm getting different with the hitting, and it's going to be the Angels, and not only that, it's 70% Angels after I went even all the way to Min Uniques 3. So it's definitely my systems are leading me there, and I'm just kind of in that kind of matrix groove where I'm not questioning my processes right now. So that's where I'm going. And at about 750, when everybody in the universe is going to be finalizing their showdown lineups, I'm going to be late swapping between the 8-7-20 and the 805 games, just to keep my process in tune, and no one else is doing it. All right.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing on DraftKings. On FanDuel, same process, same technique, same everything, and the results. Let me just see the results. The results. Oh, I only played one lineup on FanDuel. Sorry, I only played the monster on FanDuel, and I ended up with a 3. I played Lopez, and I did play a 3-man Atlanta, but I went with a 4-man Texas over there. So, okay. And I have a one-off from another game, so without telling the whole lineup. So listen, but I'm only playing one lineup, and it's in the monster with no one else playing. You know what I mean? Like, who's playing the FanDuel monster tonight when there's $1 million for first in freaking football? Nobody, right? So I don't have to do anything funny in the FanDuel monster, I don't believe. So Lopez, and I am ending up with Braves and some Texas and 4-man Texas. We'll just see. And it's so chalky, even the Texas. It's like I'm not gonna say exactly what it is, but it's a lot of bottom of the top of the order guys. Very little aggravation as far as that one goes. So yeah, that's my deal with baseball. Is there any questions in here or no?
Nothing has popped up. I think, like you said, I think most people have turned their attention fully to football.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's Chiefs Ravens, man. I mean, I don't blame them. You know what I mean?
No, it's great. It's a great first game. I did post my bets in our thing, but I want to say I have a very strong take on the Ravens.
I could have told you 6 months ago who you're going to be taking.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, look, when you've got a quarterback who's played again as an underdog 14 times in their career, and they're 12-1-1 against the spread, and opening night a Chiefs team that always starts off slowly without their I don't know where you rank Hollywood Brown, one of their best receivers. I think I'm in on this idea. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. We'll see what happens. I also love the under tonight. I'll talk about it more on the football show. I did run this, and I'm actually gonna just update it a little bit. You saw what we got before, but we're gonna go to the RAROI here, and we're gonna see what we have exposure wise. And
I see an angel in there. I see at least one.
This is the pitching.
Oh no!
I haven't even looked at the stacks yet.
I'm looking at the one line up on the right side. I see an angel in there.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's an angel.
I got a couple of them. Let's go.
Yeah, so there, I think you're gonna see some of that. So
there it is.
75% angels. There you go.
That's it.
And I'm just for fun gonna try and mess with the min uniques a little bit to see if I can get a little bit different.
You can't fight City Hall, man. It's
it's angel season.
It's a sneaky return of Mike Trout that no one is publicizing. Mike Trout is back at 2K, 3K, and nobody notices.
And I bet you, I'm kind of happy you weren't here yesterday, because I don't know if you would be so all angeled out, because they scored 1 million runs against my Dodgers yesterday.
Oh no!
So they have no hope. But man, it's I like the take, and I'm still very into the San Diego as a logical stack, and then the Pittsburgh Washington idea I think makes some sense. But this is sort of what it gave you, and I mixed things around, went to 5 min uniques just to try and see if it would change much. Didn't actually change that much.
Sure.
But this sounds right. Look, they got to the 20% aller there. I like that. So yeah, it's a funky little slate. And just like this morning was a funky little slate, you could literally have played the hitters against your pitchers in that Minnesota Tampa Bay game, and I think you would have done pretty well.
What happened in that game?
Well, I just know that Lopez gave up like 3. I think he gave up either 2 or 3 home runs, but he also struck out 9 in 6 innings. And then Taj Bradley on the other side gave up at least 3 home runs, but he had 10 strikeouts. So they both had monster scores with giving up the home runs. It just looked like, I was like, could you take? And I talked about hitters against pitchers. I said you could definitely on this size slate, but in this case, it was like you wanted the pitchers against your stack almost. Like that scheme.
So I'm actually looking at the results of the early slate now. Listen, he was 30% owned. I'm looking at this, so I guess whatever. That's a tough price to pay. But dude, Cal Raleigh's just a freaking beast. He's just a freaking beast. Yeah. How does he not have 60 home runs? Like, he hits a home run every single day.
It does feel like he should have like twice what he has. I agree with you. It's very strange.
You know what I think it means? I think it means that he hits a home run in spots where he rates to hit a home run. You know what I mean?
That's what it is. You're right.
I only play him when he projects well, right? Yeah. And so when I always see him in a home run, I only care because I have him. So right. maybe that's what it is. These guys that project well against bad pitchers or bad spots just perform.
Yep. Absolutely. Look, it's a 5-gamer. I encourage everybody to get very different on these slates, although a little less so today because the tournament sizes aren't quite as big.
Yeah, I would get less different. I would probably get less different today if I wouldn't worry about ownership today. Let's put it this way: like if you wanted to play those teams that I said, I don't think it's that big of a mistake today. Just because
I don't think that's the thing is there's nobody like Lopez is going to be astronomically owned. Every other play is super questionable pitching, which means all of the hitting stacks are completely in play. So I'm going to personally, I'd go for the lower ones, but you don't need necessarily the 1%ers. You can win tournaments with the 10 or 15%ers like the San Diegos. And that's sort of what I would look at today. I do think you get different, but maybe you don't have to go completely ballistic. I just found that it made enough sense to me. I can talk myself very easily into Aller, into Falter, into Kakanevich, however you pronounce it. Pretty easily. So that's just what I liked personally. Anyway, we're
gonna do a football video, but I want to ask you before we even get into it. Do you think Juju Smith-Schuster is playing?
As last I heard, it looked like he was. So
he's gonna get run. I mean, like,
it's gonna be weird over there in Kansas City. But there's almost always like somebody who it could be him, it could be Hardman. I want to see the actives and inactives. Before.
But has he even seen a playbook? You know what I mean? Like.
Juju?
Yeah.
He was on the team last year.
Oh, I didn't even know. Oh, that's how stupid I am.
Yeah, moved over there last year, didn't he?
Unless he signed him. I thought they picked him up from some other team or something.
No.
Okay. All right. This is different. Okay.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, so All right. So, and yeah, as you guys can see, as like everybody else, with the SaberSim updates and stuff, we're catching up on different site stuff. So Goldie's been awesome all day, and he's answering everybody. If there's anything that goes on, let us know. But as of now, it looks like we're all going good again, and the update is all cleared on all angles. So should be rolling. All right, Cheeks, you want to get out of here and take a few minutes before we start the football one, just because I got to grab something really quick.
Good idea. Good idea.
Okay. All right. Good luck to everybody tonight, and we'll see you.
You know what? Hang in there with me for a second.
We'll see you in 15